What's going on, everybody? Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Welch Report with me, Jean-Luc Welch. Make some noise, clap it up, get excited wherever you are. We're back with another action-packed episode, as we always come with every single week, or at least we try to anyway. But hey, we got so much to cover. We gotta get so much excitement in the realm of all sports with the NBA, with boxing. Specifically, those are two things that we're gonna cover. As you see in the title, Cat done got traded, and the Knicks just got better, at least in theory. Is this indeed true with the new acquisition of one of the better big men in the NBA, and Karl getting moved down to the mecca of basketball, New York City, playing with the Knicks and Jalen Brunson? How is that team tandem going to go? But in the boxing realm, we still got so much to talk about with Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. The saga still does not end, as there has not been a lawsuit in the making that has not been officially put out by Devin Haney. Why indeed is this happening? And does this make Devin Haney look incredibly bad? As well as we have Tank Davis and his return to the ring against, well, Lamont Roach. How exactly is the boxing public taking this announcement of the fight in December? Is it quality or is it outright gutter trash? All this is going to be talked about right here on this show. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And please leave a like on the video, comment your thoughts and opinions, subscribe to the channel, and share the show with everybody that you know, so we can keep on building up this empire together. Don't forget to please leave a chat in the comment section. Love to hear your opinions and thoughts on whatever we discuss, as well as questions of your own. Let's get some fandom going around the comment section. Everybody interact. Everybody has a part in making this show something absolutely special. But again, all of that self-promotion aside, we got to talk about sports. We got topics to talk about. Instead, we're going to jump into it. Well, before we even get into boxing, which normally what we cover, we got to delve into the big story of the NBA with the New York Knicks now making a move, making a trade for Karl Anthony Towns. And seemingly, the public of New York is not enraged, as we commonly see, but instead enthralled, excited, absolutely elated, because now they have another tandem in the midst. You had John Starks and Patrick Ewing. Now you have Jalen Brunson, the crown king of New York, paired with Karl Anthony Towns. How exactly is this going to go? But first off, what are the details of the trade as a whole? Knicks get Karl Anthony Towns and James Niang from the Hornets. Timberwolves trade away Cat, and they keep Rudy Gobert, surprising everybody in the NBA. And instead they get Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, who was one of the bigger key players on the Villanova Knicks of the tandem when everybody got together. Him, Brunson, Hart, Malik Bridges. Seemingly that was going to be their core, or at least one of the bigger portions of the core going forward. However, now, even after breakout season, boom, got shipped off to the Timberwolves. And they get Bates Jop in the first round pick from, I believe, from the Knicks as well. And then it was a 3-team trade. Hornets get Daquan Jeffries, Charlie Brown Jr., and three second round picks, 3 picks in total. But either way, we don't care about the Hornets, not right now anyway. We care about the Knicks. That's the biggest story. And the Knicks seemingly have now decided they're going in for it all. There is no wasted time when it comes to what this Knicks organization is trying to do. And with Jalen Brunson and the success that we have seen him bring as the star leader and star player of this entire squad, they're going all in. They are doing everything they can. And they did what I thought they would never do. They got rid of Julius Randle. My gosh, can you believe it? The shot chucking menace himself, they finally got him out of there. And this is not disrespect to Julius Randle, excuse me. This is it's a testament to the negative effects he was having on this team. Not because he's a bad player, but because what his role was on this team was completely adjacent, or rather essentially objective to what the Knicks were trying to build. As a 6'9" versatile power forward who is a dominant scorer in terms of he wants to shoot the ball a lot. A volume shooter, a volume scorer, more so down low in the post, but still, normally when on the Knicks, when he got on the floor, at least from my perspective, never really gelled well when it came to Jalen Brunson. Had the grit, had the grind. Of course, he embodied the New York mentality. Sure, him and Tom Thibodeau, we got the pairing, rough, big, rugged, fitting that New York style basketball. However, it just didn't pan out. It never worked. And we saw when Julius Randle was off the floor, and it was strictly Jalen Brunson running the show with Josh Hart, with Malik Bridges when they got him, with OG Anunoby, with Isaiah Hartenstein before they traded him away, with Mitchell Robinson. When it was just him, they flourished, shined, had the best seasons of recent memory when it came to that New York Knicks squad. This is what they needed. Not a stagnating big man that, without the ball in his hand, really can't do much. Isn't a great shooter. Yeah, he can put up 20, but he's more likely to shoot you out of a game and take dumb shots. Play a role as a shot creator when he's nowhere close to that in terms of what his skill set is. Again, he is a good power forward. Let's not get that twisted. However, it does not mean that the brother was good for Jalen Brunson. Now, you get Karl Anthony Towns. Yes, you don't have Hartenstein. Yes, you don't have Mitchell Robinson. Yes, you don't have the dynamic defensive duo that you did have. But you make up for it with a 7'6'11" three-point shooting offensive monster in Karl Anthony Towns to take the load off of Jalen Brunson. And it helps spread the floor for the entirety of that offense. Because you have to understand what this team looks like right now when it comes to a starting five. It is at the 1, Jalen Brunson. At the 2, Josh Hart. At the 3, Malik Bridges. Or Mikal Bridges, excuse me. At the 4, OG Anunoby. And at the 5, Karl Anthony Towns. Everybody on that squad can shoot, can run, is offensively adept, and you have good defensive people like with OG Anunoby, like with Malik Bridges, like with Josh Hart, who's also a good rebounder, and Jalen Brunson, again, facilitating this whole saga of an organization, as well as every single one of those names is a shooter, can spread the floor, can get a bucket on their own, but doesn't take dump shots. They still all revolve around the world that is Jalen Brunson. This is a lineup that looks deadly. This is a lineup that looks, at least on paper, looks incredible, looks phenomenal. This looks spectacular. It really does. And as a threat to the rest of the Eastern Conference, this team could be scary. This team could be lethal when it comes to a well-rounded squad. Because again, their bench may be a little bit dry. Now, I would love a little bit better, but even still, off the bench, you got Mitchell Robinson. You still got with Jalen Brunson, most likely going to be playing majority of minutes. You can still rotate out pieces and still have a good, well-rounded offensive lineup. And compared to the rest of the Eastern Conference, hey, outside of Boston, they're liable to take out some of the best teams in the East. You could argue that they're the fourth best team outright and potentially third. Because you have Boston, you have Milwaukee, you got Philly, especially with the acquisition of Paul George. But now with the Knicks getting Karl Anthony Towns, it's not out the question to say that we could see the Knicks overtake Philly as the third biggest threat in the Eastern Conference. And if we see how the Bucks played last year, they play again like that this year. They may be the second best team in the East. legitimately and has liable and is viable, to be seen if everything pans out great. At best, potentially the second best team in the NBA outside of Boston. Now, again, that's a lofty goal. Again, you have the Nuggets who are still out west, still dominant. You have, again, Boston who's always dominant, just won a championship. Yes, everybody doesn't like them. Everybody's annoyed with Jason Tatum, Jalen Brunson, the whole squad. But even still, the talent is there from top to bottom. But when it comes to the Knicks, they can, with this roster, they have the pieces to be able to beat most of the best teams in the NBA. They do, whether you want to agree with it or not. This is a squad that looks ready to actually make some noise, not just in the playoffs, but give a legitimate push for a title win, an actual push to get to a championship. We thought it was going to revolve around, again, the Nova Knicks with DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, Malik Bridges, and Brunson. But now we see the direction this team is taking. Hey, you need a dominant second option to go and pair with Julius Randle. Karl Anthony Towns fits that to a T. 39% from three as a shooter. Arguably one of the best shooting, not arguably, is one of the best shooting big men, 3-point shooting big men in NBA history. Like, there's an argument that he is the best 3-point shooting big man that the league has ever seen when it comes to volume and accuracy. Again, has shot 40% over the past couple seasons. Hasn't shot below, I think, 37% in a mighty long time when it comes to beyond the arc. And this is with volume shooting. This is a brother who, with this squad, is going to be an incredible sight to see when it comes to the offensive display. On top of the fact that with his floor spacing, now you can't double him without him being able to kick out to another viable shooter or cutter on the outside. And if it goes wrong and you need a defensive anchor in the midst, well, you still have Mitchell Robinson. And you still have a brother that can lock down the paint. The only thing I would want with this Knicks squad is to potentially get one more big body, one more big, aggressive defensive center, to get a 3-center lineup that can make it so that you can hide the deficiencies of Karl Anthony Towns when it comes to the defensive end. Because, again, this is not disrespect. This is just the truth. Karl Anthony Towns has never been a great defender. Yes, the Timberwolves last year had the best defense in the league. Understandable. Top rated, top to bottom. But more so, that was the rest of the roster. Rudy Gobert, Anthony Edwards, McDaniels, they had a stout squad that had defenders everywhere. They did, and they gave effort. Now, I'm not saying Karl Anthony Towns didn't have a part in that. No. But on the whole, what his reputation has been, he's never been a dominant defensive player. Now, if you want to maximize his offensive load while still keeping the Tom Thibodeau style of grit, toughness, defense, both ways of the floor type of mentality in play, it would be smart to get another big man to pair with Cat, at least to help out with Mitchell Robinson as the only other legitimately big man on this organization, at least on this roster. But outside of that, they can make that move in the offseason. They can make that move in free agency. Even still, everything else from the looks of it, oh, it looks wonderful. Oh, it looks beautiful. This looks like a match made in heaven when it comes to the New York Knicks. And now the Knicks are actually viable to set up for upsets galore. This is a team now that really has the manpower and the firepower to be able to go for a title. It is real. It is no longer a pipe dream. This is the move. This is the move. Just like with Toronto and Kawhi Leonard, when they made that move, not just for the trade, but when they got Marc Gasol, that was one of the key moves that made them say we are all in on getting a championship. Did Anthony Davis go into the Lakers? The move that made them go all in on trying to win a championship. This is one of those moves. This is a turning point in the story of Jalen Brunson and the New York Knicks squad as we know it today. This could be the thing that we all look back on and say this was the best move for everybody. Or it could crash and burn. We've seen that also happen before. But on paper, my gosh, this looks beautiful. There's an argument that this is the third or second best team in the NBA, all right. And how they perform, we're going to have to wait and see. But this is a move that looks incredible. Gets floor spacing, gives phenomenal defense still for the rest of that roster, gives the load off of Jalen Brunson with another 20 to 25 point per game score. Somebody who can go for 50, who can go for 40, who can go for 30 and 10, who can be a dominant offensive player by himself, let alone now when he's got spacing to work and operate. Cat is one of the best offensive centers in the league as a whole. Yeah, that's the truth. And now looks like a perfect fit. But on the side of the other spectrum, or on the other side of the spectrum, when it comes to the Timberwolves, now this is where stuff gets interesting. Because this is a situation where they traded the wrong guy. They really did, in my humble opinion. They may have traded the wrong person when it comes to Karl Anthony Towns. For everything that we know about what this Timberwolves squad was last year, yes, a dominant defensive unit, nearly got to the finals. Yes, they were swept, I believe, when they got ousted, or at least they were dominated when they did play against the, who was it? It slipped my mind who they played in the playoffs last year. But even still, this team looked, building around Anthony Edwards, looked wonderful. It looked like it was working. However, one of the biggest liabilities on this squad was Rudy Gobert, at least in the eyes of the NBA public. We were saying that this brother can't do anything right. He's a defensive monster, quote unquote, that doesn't do anything monstrous when it comes to the greater landscape of basketball and how this team operates as a whole. See more as a liability than an actual asset for the organization. If there was any move to make this squad better, would have been to get Rudy Gobert out there. Would have been to get Rudy Gobert out, keep Cat, keep Ant, and now find another good defensive center. But further build around the guard play of the Timberwolves that they had to offer. Now, I know that Anthony Edwards may just be kicking himself. Because now, yes, the offensive load is solely built around Anthony Edwards now. The show runs through Ant now more than ever. Just like it did last season, just like it did in some capacities in the Olympics. We know what Ant can do. We know that this is the spotlight that he loves to shine in. He wants this level of singularity when it comes to what the team revolves around. We saw this coming. But when it comes to the personnel around him now instead of Cat and Rudy Gobert as your running mates, it's Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle as who's going to be starting. This is going to be, oh boy, that's going to be your big three on the floor. And from a organizational standpoint, fans, and if you're Anthony Edwards, brother, I don't think that's going to work. I don't think that's going to work at all. Because now you got Julius Randle, who is going to be, again, just like we saw him in New York, potentially a liability with how he wants to be offensively. He wants to be a person who has the ball in his hand. He wants to be one of the key offensive pieces on this squad. Whenever he's an offensive piece, his team gets held back as in terms of one of the big key pieces. He turns into a shot chucker, turns to somebody who gets his team out of rhythm. Again, when he was off the floor, we saw the Knicks get a deeper run than we had ever seen them in the past couple years in terms of a real playoff contender. Looked better than we'd ever seen him. Julius Randle got put in the rear view mirror of the Knicks' future hopes. Now with the Timberwolves, your future hope is Anthony Edwards, a dominant player who, again, works best with the ball in his hand and is evolving as one of the biggest stars in basketball today. But now you pair him up with somebody who needs the ball in his hand, who thinks that he's better and bigger than he really is when it comes to the capacity that his team needs him and the importance of him when it comes to the offensive scheme. And his style of play, again, looks to contrast what we want from Anthony Edwards. It doesn't seem like a good fit. Clogging the paint, taking dumb shots. You pair that now with Rudy Gobert. Again, that's going to be the only sole big man who, outside of really catching lobs, has no offensive game that is quality. And defensively, as much as we respect what he is, Because I don't care what anybody says. He is still an elite defender. He is still a defensive player of the year. Even though some of them may not have been warranted, he is still one of the best defenders and paint protectors that this game has to offer. But it is evident that if you watch the games, the impact that his accolades say that he should have, it's not there. It's not. It's just the nature of the beast. It's not there in the slightest for what it should be for the capacity that we know Rudy Gobert is supposed to be. And the money he's being paid, it's not the same. It's not the same. I'm not saying it needs to be a 20-point per game scorer. I'm not saying it needs to be a top 3 center in the NBA. What I am saying is it should be a lot more evident that your impact is felt on the floor. And it's not from Rudy Gobert, at least for me when I watch him. Now, this looks like a team that, hey, if you can ship off Julius Randle at minimum and get another piece, that might be better. Because I don't think that's going to work at all when it comes to the Timberwolves. They looked on the cusp of something special last year. Now, I don't know at all if that's going to work the same. I don't know if that's going to work and be as special as it was last year when it came to the resurgence of the Timberwolves. And you're going to have to put in a lot of work to make this squad work. Not because you don't have talent, but because the talent is going to clash when it comes to you, Randall, and Rudy Gobert. I just don't see it as working. I really don't. It just doesn't fly when it comes to me. But again, with all that going on, as the NBA still unfolds, we will cover more about what happens. NBA season is drawing near. The mecca of the sports world is getting ready to collide on all fronts with boxing, with basketball, with football. Everything's either starting up or is getting ready to hit their highest stride. This is great in terms of sports season. And we had to transition from the NBA to boxing now as we talk about the lawsuit that has shocked the boxing landscape with Devin Haney against Ryan Garcia. And since we're talking about boxing, it is time, oh yes, to step into the ring. That's right, oh yeah. Ring the bell, let's get it started. Round 1 going underway as we have to discuss Devin Haney and what looks to be a very confusing move from the Haneys, both Bill and Devin, with them suing Ryan Garcia for the beating that he took on last year, or at least it was either early this year or last year. Either way, this has been a hotly contested issue due to the fact that we already saw punishment given to Ryan Garcia by governing bodies. He was fined for popping dirty. He was not just fined for popping dirty to Ryan Garcia. He was also got the win taken away and get scrubbed from the annals of history. Now it is a no contest for him and Devin Haney, and he paid $1.5 million to Devin Haney directly for going overweight, like he said he would in the build-up to the fight. And the brother was banned for a year. So by all accounts, with the multiple fines, paying Devin Haney directly, being banned for a year, and the win being deemed a no contest now and thrown out, justice seemed to be served, was it not? Justice seemed to be actually what it should have been. Everything came out right, and we covered what this whole drug situation was with Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. We covered it all the ins and outs, the amount of Ostrinos found in the system, how we popped clean all the way up until the day of the fight, or the day before the fight, how the Osterine got in a system, contaminated bottle that, again, had Osterine that was undisclosed for what was supposed to be a legal substance, the minute amount, all of it. And we said, this is good. He popped. He deserved punishment. This was just due. Everything seemed right with the word. But however, now we have a problem.
Hey, look at this. We got some problems here. We got some problems here.
Yes, we do, because now Devin Haney isn't done. The fight still goes on outside the ring as he has now sued Ryan Garcia, him and his father. And per quoting what the lawsuit is, it is for battery, fraud, unjust enrichment, as well as Devin Haney suffered damages such as physical injury, reputational damage, which amounts to millions and millions of dollars. on top of emotional and mental distress caused by the fight. His brand has been damaged. His reputation has been ruined due to this fight, and it is unjust and unfair. That is what the lawsuit is saying from Devin Haney. And per his father, Bill Haney, his quote, again, directly quoted, lawsuits are a part of business. Welcome to the Devin Haney era of boxing. This is horrible. This is terrible. This is outright befuddling. That's what this is. Shocking to say the least. Why in the world are you doing this if you're Devin Haney? You look so weak. You look so decrepit. Horrible. This is a terrible move by you. Not because because of a slew of things, excuse me. This is a situation where justice was already given. Redemption was already done. Now, it is on you to go and make that right by your own hands. Yet still, you are opting to do this stuff outside of the ring when punishment was already given. Why are you not looking to get a comeback and show that that fight was indeed a fluke by focusing on your next fight, focusing on your next move, focusing on getting better so that you never get dominated like that again? Because again, this is a situation where we see what was already done to Ryan Garcia. You are beating a dead horse, and now you're looking like the fool. You're the one that's getting hate now. You're the one that looks like a punk. That's the truth. Because this is a weak move. Why are you suing Ryan Garcia instead of looking to get your get back inside the ring, waiting for the day that Ryan Garcia gets instated and wanting a rematch so you can prove that all of that was false? The entire beating was because of drug use, because of enhancements and enrichment on the side of Ryan Garcia, that you are indeed the better man. Why don't you want it back in blood? Why? Why do you want to go this route of going through all these stupid hoops and hurdles when, again, justice was already given? You look like a fool if you're Devin Haney. What is wrong with you? Where is your warrior mentality? Where is your warrior spirit? Where is the heart that we have been saying that you do have? It makes no sense. The more and more we look at that fight, the more and more it becomes apparent, at least to me, brother, it wasn't the drugs that beat you. It wasn't the steroids that got you. You got beat clean because you can't beat Ryan Garcia. Now, you can dismay all of that by one, coming back, getting in the ring, putting on a dominant performance against another good quality fighter, and then beating Ryan Garcia in a rematch. Actually, that's it. That's the only way. That's the best way to prove that this is true. This is on you. It is on you to make this fight right. It's on you, Devin Haney, to not go and be this dramatic when it comes to how you're handling this whole fight saga. Where is the heart to get it back in the ring? Because you already got the redemption from justice when it came to outside the ring, with all of the fines and suspensions that Ryan Garcia got. Now, you need to want to get back in the ring and make it right by your own hands. Perfect example, Miguel Cotto, when he got cheated by Antonio Margarito. Antonio Margarito, if you don't know, Margarito fought Miguel Cotto. Very big fight. Margarito went and all of a sudden started dominating Cotto in a very unusual fashion. Fashion we had never seen Miguel Cotto dominated before in the boxing ring. After the fight, came out that he had plaster in his hands and was actively cheating. Got punished. Everything that happened. Couple years down the line, Miguel Cotto got back in the ring with Antonio Margarito and stopped the brother within 12 rounds and got his redemption by his own hand. Bloodied him, beat him up, outworked him, outpunched him, outhearted him, humbled him, destroyed him. That's what Miguel Cotto did. And he did it, justice was done. Whatever the fines and repercussions were outside of the ring, it got done to Margarito. But Cotto still did not run from the test. Cotto waited for the day that he could get back in the ring, longed for the day to get back in the ring and get his own redemption, get his own revenge, get his own justice by his own fist. and prove to the world that he was indeed wrong and he is indeed the better man. Outright. Devin Haney, you can do that same thing. But this type of move, lawsuits and suing, when we were already saying that Ryan Garcia, his name was getting drugged through the mud, beyond just what had happened with Austrian. You gotta understand, he will never be able to live down what this whole drug situation. Just like with Canelo and Cambuterol, the tainted meat that got him popped dirty, that still follows Canelo all the way today in his career. It will never get away from him. Ryan Garcia, same thing. Regardless of what the facts are, this will never get away from Ryan Garcia in terms of a stained reputation. Yet still, you go out of your way and make this happen. You go out of your way and do this dumb lawsuit that has you looking like an outright punk. And it really makes me feel that you don't think you can beat him. You're doing all of this stuff, wanting to take his purse, wanting to take his money, wanting to make sure he doesn't get paid, wanting to do all this stuff because you don't think you can beat Ryan Garcia. That's the meat and potatoes of it. You don't want to get back in the ring with Ryan Garcia because you know it was more than just posturing. 1 day's worth of posturing that got you in that defeated state. It was more than just steroids that got you knocked down multiple times, that made you not be able to catch that check hook, which you can't catch, which you never were able to catch, even in the amateurs when you fought Ryan Garcia, which is on record because there's video of it. The same deficiencies that you were getting caught with against Ryan Garcia when you split 6 fights with him, 3-3, same thing you got caught with in Ryan Garcia in this fight, only much more detrimental. Your chin got touched multiple times. You couldn't adapt. You didn't have any power to do anything to Ryan Garcia. When you did land, you landed one quality shot that did stun him and rock him a little bit. Yes, it did. And then you didn't follow up with a doggone thing. You got destroyed by Ryan Garcia. And it wasn't out the norm. We were all saying, yeah, that's just about right. That's about what we expected when it comes to if Ryan Garcia was going to win. This is how we could see it. Nothing was confusing when it came to that fight with Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. Unlike with Miguel Cotto and Antonio Margarito. Unlike with Ali and Liston when Liston put something on his gloves to mess with his eye. Unlike multiple other instances of cheating and outright debauchery by other fighters, breaking the rules of boxing, breaking the safety code that everybody should abide by when it comes to stepping in the ring because you're putting your life on the line. Unlike those other situations, this is not that. We were saying that all the physical gifts of Ryan Garcia were still there all the way up to the fight. Because everything that we said that would happen if Devin Haney got beat happened. Just about exactly how we saw it because of the traits of Ryan Garcia that didn't look anywhere close to artificial. Oh yeah, we expected this. This is a situation where you don't think you can beat him because this is not a move of somebody who doesn't want to get it back in blood. Your reputation's ruined. No, it's not. It's the fact that how you're acting right now is ruining it. How you're acting now is messing up your reputation. How you're going about this entire saga of you and Ryan Garcia is making you look worse. We've seen other people lose. We've seen Errol Spence get dominated. We've seen other boxers be destroyed. And yeah, it stung. Oh, we talked about it. What a performance by this fighter. Stephen Foley got dominated by anyone. Again, Terrence Crawford got dominated Terrence Crawford dominated Errol Spence Jr. Tyson Fury dominated Wilder. But the reputation, it was, oh man, you lost. Oh, you got beat. But it wasn't hurting you to the point, it didn't make them obsolete. Did it? No. That's not what was happening to you. This type of stuff, you constantly talking about it. You constantly bringing it up. You constantly almost having it as an excuse to not have to fight in the ring anymore, let alone fight against Ryan Garcia anymore. This is what's making you look weak. Your reputational damage is brought about by your own volition. It's brought about by your own ineptitude as a boxer. This is a problem. Nothing about Ryan Garcia up until that fight changed. Nothing about you had changed up until that fight. Now, with the result, yes, Pop dirty. Yes, deserved the ban. All that is justified. It was justified in the result. But you still go about this stupid way of holding on to a grudge that has already been solidified. Instead of just getting back in the gym and wanting to get back your own vengeance now that justice outside of the ring was indeed served. And we were all saying this is apropos. This is correct. This is good. You are making your own legacy horrible. You look weak. Your father looks weak. And I'm not saying this lightly. I'm saying this is what the boxing public feels. This is what the boxing public feels. This is what the public as a whole feel about you, Devin Haney. They didn't like your style. They didn't like how you fought. They didn't like how you didn't have any power. But they couldn't deny that you went and fought everybody. But then you go and beat Lomachenko, and that's still hotly contested whether you actually beat him or not. And then you put on a good performance against Regis Prograis. Has us, me included, saying, hey, this brother's different. At 140, he can be something spectacular. This is a new and improved Devin Haney. Then you go out and get dominated by Ryan Garcia. Boom. Wow. Ryan Garcia is just went through you. Drugs or not, before that we were saying, look, the same situation of Devin Haney may just be a testament to his size compared to his other opponents. Maybe that's what's been winning him all these fights. Now, I'm going up against somebody his own size, speed, and actual physical capabilities. He can't win without that size as his advantage. Then Austrian comes about. Well, man, shoot. How in the world did Ryan Garcia let this happen? Went through the whole saga, found out all the details. Boom. Banning was justified. The minute amount that was in the system couldn't really affect them, but even still, should have been banned, should have been fined, all that stuff. Now you and your dad are beating a dead horse and nobody takes you seriously anymore. Now, if anybody dominates you like that for the foreseeable future, this is what we expect. This is going to have people clamoring to fight you now because they know, one, you don't like power. Two, you don't like actual physical capabilities that are of your own. And three, they know if you lose, it's going to break you. Especially if you get dominated like that. It's going to break you. Right now, this no contest, quote unquote, is eating you alive. It's messing you up, making you go insane. That's what's happening. And because of that, your name and cachet is getting lower and lower and lower. Oh, it is drastically dropping. You as a champion now is going to be looked at negatively. You as an elite fighter, it's going to be looked at negatively. You as a draw in boxing, it's going to be looked at negatively. Everybody's going to pay to see you lose just to shut you up. Okay, boom. Now you got beat. What else is there for you to say outside of drugs again? Are you going to accuse them of steroids again? Are you going to say that they cheated again? That's what we're going to be saying. This isn't the mark of a warrior. This isn't the mark of a fighter. This is not something where justice wasn't given and you're looking for just retribution. It was already done. Now you just look like a punk. Now you look like a false champion. Now you look like a bum. You and your father look like a bum when it comes to how you all are approaching this entire post-traumatic stress. That's what it's looking like. And whether you like it or not, that fight's going to happen again. Let's get that straight right now. That fight will happen again because it is too big of a cash draw to get anybody, for anybody not to make that happen, including the respective promotions that Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney work for. It's too big of a draw not to have that happen. Too big. It's too much. There's too much drama surrounding this fight, not for the rematch to take place. And not for Devin Haney to be tested against Ryan Garcia once again. Stricter testing, absolutely. In terms of drugs, all that stuff, make sure clean is clean. But you're going to have to step in the ring again. Because there's too much money at stake not for that rematch to happen. Just to really prove once and for all that you are indeed better and that it was drugs or that this fight wasn't a fluke. And whether you want to run from it or not, you better go on and embrace the fact that that fight is in your future and move accordingly to prepare yourself for that fight in the future because it's going to happen. And when it does happen, how you adapt is going to really dictate whether or not you really were the better man. But I guarantee you, you better embrace the beating, embrace what happened, accept the justice that was given, let it go, move on, get back in the ring and train. Get your mind off of the fight and onto the future because you're going to need it. When that fight happens again, if you ain't ready for it this time, oh my gosh, you think that right now you're being clowned and looked at as a fool. But I would hate to be in your shoes if you lose that fight again with Ryan Garcia after all the noise that you made about the situation with Ryan Garcia. And it comes back fully clean as well. Boy, that's going to be a sad state of affairs if you're in the family and in the regime of Devin Haney. Well, it's Devin Haney himself. Tough pill to swallow. I don't think he's going to be able to take at all. At all. But again, stick out more to cover on the show, like with Gervonta Tank Davis, and we now have an official date, or at least a month, and fighter for Gervonta Tank Davis' return. And the monster among men is going to face off against Lamont Roach. Lamont Roach, the current WBA super featherweight champion at 130 pounds. This is not at all what we wanted to see.
Hey, look at this. We got the problems here. We got the problems here.
You mean to tell me that we got Tank fighting Lamont Roach when there was no... Why? Why is this happening? Why in the world is this transpiring when it comes to Tank Davis? See, this is what I hate about Tank. I hate this about Gervonta Davis. We can talk about the talent. We can talk about the bravado. We can talk about the knockout power. But when it comes to actually being tested, the brother doesn't do it. This fight with Lamont Roach should not be happening at all. Lamont Roach is 25, 1-1. He's been in the game for a decently long time. Just won the WBA Super Featherweight Championship from, ironically enough, Hector Luis Garcia. Or excuse me, Hector Luis Garcia, who came back down to 130 after losing to Tank at 135. He's only had one title defense in his career, and the loss that he lost to was Jamal Herring, who Tank Shakur then fought and beat up and outright outclassed. And we were saying that Jamal Herring at that point in time was old. There is no quality reason that Tank should be messing with anybody at 130 pounds. None whatsoever. Not bringing somebody up, not trying to go and fight. No, there shouldn't be. There isn't. You went. You had an opportunity to go and be a champion. You outgrew the division. And you could have went to try to unify, but you didn't. Now you can move back up, but you don't. You could have gone to 140. You understand that. You could have fought at 140. This is a situation where detractors may say, oh, there wasn't anybody to fight. There wasn't anybody in his weight class that could do anything. Let's pump the brakes on it. We understand that circumstances were sparse, to say the least, when it came to Tank fighting the rest of 135. Shakur Stevenson, injured, out. Was going to fight Joe Cardina, can't fight him anymore, broke his hand, done. Couldn't fight Lomachenko because Lomachenko's out for personal reasons. Understandable. However, even with that being the case, what did I say about Tank? I had said that Tank, the only road that he needs to go from after Frank Martin was up. It's the only road that was viable. It's the only road that was actually plausible when it came to Tank Davis and the next steps in his career. And with every other avenue seemingly done, thrown out the window, it's either A, unify, or B, Go and move up to 140 pounds and fight where every one of your other confidants have now gone up to. Because you already fought Mario Barrios at 140 pounds. So what in the world is it that's holding you back from doing that again? It makes no sense. This is terrible. There was no point in fighting another small champion who is coming up for again, this is a situation where Tank is either weight draining, is fighting somebody smaller than him, or bringing somebody up that just doesn't have anything. There's nothing competitive about this fight. This is not disrespectful to Lamont Roach. This is just how good Tank is. At this stage, it should be champions above or at your weight class or bust, not moving up. Lamont Roach ain't even proved himself as a great champion because he's only had one title defense. The brother isn't even a knockout artist or knockout savant that's got power to his name because he's only got 10 KOs in his 25 wins. This is a man who still is he's a good boxer. He's crafty. He can be slick. He's got a decent chin. Dare I say a good chin. But coming up from 130 to 135, no, that's not going to work. It's not going to work at all. This is a terrible fight for a fighter that is leagues above who he's fighting. Tank has no business messing with anybody at 130. Tank has no business messing with anybody else except for champions or top prospects at 135. And Tank has no business fighting anybody else but legitimate contenders moving up to 140 and staying there. This is terrible. We don't want this fight. Tank's going to knock out Lamont Roach and it's going to be easy. It's not going to be competitive. It's not going to be impressive. And we're not going to be sitting here and give it the props that it's due, not because it's disrespectful to Lamont Roach, but because of when it comes to Tank, we expect more from you now. Because you have to understand, you could have fought Valenzuela. You could have fought in your own weight class. You could have fought Floyd Schofield. You could have fought Abdullah Mason. Would have been fine with it. Prospects coming up have made some noise. Give them a shot. The young and hungry. Let's see what you can do. Perfectly fine with that. Somebody else brought up in the last string that, hey, should he fight Tank at 135? Or should Schofield fight Tank at 135? Or Abdullah Mason fight Tank at 135? I had said that both of them right now aren't worth the time because he has said that he now wants to go after championships. And since that's the case, it's either Shakur or Lomachenko. After that, no real reason to fight anybody else because they don't provide any form of real legacy-driven content to add to his career. Understandable because of what we were saying at that point in time and what Tank had said himself. Cool. Now, however, when everybody else was gone, perfect time to fight. We didn't expect this. We didn't expect Floyd. We didn't expect Loma and Shakur to be out. And now, it's a straight and narrow way. Either you fight one of the young prospects who are building up steam and look like a threat, or you go and fight at 140 outright. Go and fight Venezuela. You go and fight Teofimo Lopez. You go and fight Poirot, who beat Sabril Matias. You go and fight Sabril Matias. Richardson Hitchens, even. Anybody. Just somebody of a higher or at your same weight class instead of bringing somebody up from 130. This is it's a bum move. It's a bum move by a great fighter who should be on a higher trajectory than this. And this is going to hurt his career. Again, and by career, I mean long-standing accolades and legacy. And we keep beating a dead horse because the same message keeps needing to be said. Tank, if you don't do what needs to be done and fight top people on a consistent basis now, you will never be seen as the fighter that you yourself should be seen as. And we don't give credit for just talent. We give credit for achievement. And there was no other path that seemingly should have been taken outside of fighting at 140. There was none. It seemed the only logical option. Yet still, you went and go this other way. In a perplexing move that shocks the world. You still go and do this. It is preposterous that Tank is even thinking that this is a viable option. There were other options within his own weight class. We don't want a non-competitive fight with a smaller champion that hasn't proved himself yet, that just became a champion, who's been around the block, who is older, who is not on your level in the slightest. This isn't good. This isn't good at all. This doesn't make you look great. This doesn't make me want to give you respect. This doesn't make you want to give you your flowers and just do. We're going to be saying, where's the real competition? Where's the challenge? And this is, again, Tank doing what Tank does, which is exactly why what Tank does is horrible. Because if he can do what he wants, just like if what Canelo can do what he wants, that's a problem. Because if you don't want to test yourself, where's the penalization? Where's the outcry from fans? Where is the absolute disdain from the public to say, no, we don't want this fight? Cancel it. This is terrible. Why pay money on a pay-per-view fight for this type of buffoonery? Unless the card is going to be incredible, and I'm rumored, or it's been rumored, there's going to be a good card in terms of big names from top to bottom. Charlo's potentially fighting. It's going to be a lot of people. But in terms of Tank, this is not quality. This makes you look, again, like a bum. Further shows my point about Tank. When it comes to big challenges, when it comes to taking risks, when it comes to making yourself better, when it comes to achieving a legacy that makes you actually be one of the greats of all time, living up to the status that you and your own fans say that you are at already, saying that you're the best in the world, saying that you're the face of boxing, saying that you run the show, saying that you run the sport, you don't move like it. You don't carry yourself like it when it comes to making and looking for quality fights. You've been saying you got a hit list for oh so long. And the only person that you've knocked off that hit list is Ryan Garcia. And that's because he was the only buddy that actually was willing to make the fight. He came in weight drained. He came in below not being able to get to a healthy weight. We saw it. He came in with an injury. Broken rib. He came in with all that and still opted to fight. He's the only buddy that has fought Devin Haney, that has fought Tank, that's looking to fight the best of the best. We can't say anything about Ryan Garcia when it comes to that. The brother would take on anybody. He's been the only brother that's taken on literally everybody. He's the only man. Nobody else is taking on everybody in the sport. Not one person. When it comes to the who is around their own class, nobody else has done it. Tank, you fighting Ryan as your biggest claim to fame of recent is not good. It isn't. It just isn't. Where is going for titles at 135? You could have bought Bjornchik. I believe that's his name. You could have bought Bjornchik. Try to go after his title. Just to say, you try to unify as you are the WBA champion. Could have fought Valenzuela at 140 because he's not coming down to 135. That's what he said. That's why that fight didn't happen when it was trying to be negotiated, when it was rumored. Could have fought Tio Lopez, who currently is open and available, who, if you beat Tio, brother, that silences a whole lot of noise about what you are. Could have campaigned at 140. Could have went and keep on fighting top dogs. But you don't want to go down the murderer's road of boxing. And it's a shame. It really is a shame. It's horrible that this is what you're doing when you know you can be better than this. This is the clock by Tank's own volition. The clock is ticking on his career. He has said he doesn't want to be in the sport long. He said he wants to now go after titles now that his career is starting to wind down. He said that he wants to go after big names now that his career is coming to an end because he's already given a date of when he wants to stop boxing. This is his words. And he's not living up to that same level of actual accomplishment that he said that he wants. There's nothing we can say except for you're moving like a buck. I will never have you outside of that 10th spot with how you're moving right now. Because you actively are doing nothing to validate that claim. Nothing. You're doing nothing. You make your career what you're the one that makes your career. If you have as much power as Canelo, then that means that you have as much responsibility as Canelo to make the fights that the fans want to see, to keep on pushing yourself. We get on Canelo for making moves that aren't applicable to what his career is supposed to be. We get on him for making moves that we know are not good for the legacy of his career and are not what we want to see as fans, like with not fighting David Benavidez multiple times. Terrible. We get on him and hold him accountable. We have to. And we got to do the same thing for Tank. Tank, you are running from the test. You're running from the challenge. You're running from everything that we know you could actually achieve. Because of what? Easy money? Because of what? You can run the show? You don't get respect. You get paid, but you don't get respect. You're never going to be seen as what you claim that you are, which is the best in the world. You're nowhere close. You're nowhere close. You're nowhere close. We can, in a way, has been accomplishing, in a way, has the career that people think Tank has, and that Tank thinks Tank has. Canelo, before the recent moves that he's made, had the career that Tank claims that he has to make him the best in the world. Most boxers at the elite level have a career that Tank thinks that he has to make him the best in the world. And it's a testament to the ease, but also the lack of shame by boxers at this top level to actively make themselves legitimate in terms of their reputation. It boggles my mind that when we know what you can do and we're calling for it, you still don't do it. Like what's the point? We're not going to watch that. We're not going to pay to watch Lamont Roach get destroyed. We're not going to pay to watch Tank have an easy win. We're not going to pay to have Tank walk over somebody that has no business being in the ring with Tank in terms from a talent and legacy perspective. It's stupid. Tank's acting stupid. Tank is stupid in this regard. Because you will never be what you claim to be. You'll never be the face of boxing. You'll never be the biggest name in the sport. You'll never be pound for pound number one because of these types of actions. Because of this type of ignorant moving, ignorant rhetoric, consistently talking, but you don't do anything. And every time we think that you're finally on the road to success, the road to making something plausible, the road to making actual circumstances of legitimate legacy-driven fights, you never do it. Frank was supposed to be the catapult to now bigger and better. Either 140 or every single legitimate prospect at 135. And there was no getting around it, yet you still find a way to get around it. It's weak, it's pathetic, it's horrible, it's terrible, it's utterly ignorant on the side of Tank to go and do this. We don't care about how much power you got, we care about how you use it. We care about you stamping your legacy, staking your claim, making yourself the best that you can be by testing yourself against the best that's out there. And Tank, when every road led to going up or fighting the best of the best without any obstacle in his way, because there was literally no other option, you go and you do this. Shame on you is what we have to say. It's an outright shame. It's an outright horrid shame. And at this point, I'm sick of Tank. I'm sick of Tank. I'm sick of talking about him. I'm sick of constantly having him as a fixture in the boxing landscape when all he is right now is talk. Tank is just talk. And this isn't me hating on Gervonta Davis. This isn't me trying to say that Tank isn't indeed one of the better talents in boxing. No, but we're objective here. We don't care what your talent is. We care about what you do. We laud Noya Inoue, the monster, because of what he's done coupled with his talent. Because of him actively taking on test after test after test after test. No qualms, no running, no ducking and dodging. Just keeping to his word and making his talent on the biggest stage always apparent. There's no issue you can say with Inoue. There was no issue you could have said with Canelo at that point in time. There's nothing you can say about David Benavidez. Nothing you can say about Dimitri Bivol. Nothing you can say about Artur Beterbiev. These other great champions of the past, who we hold the standard for. Marvin Hagler, Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns. Again, Ali, Foreman, Ken Norton, Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, Salvador Sanchez. I can keep going on and on and on. Georgie Joe Walcox. There's so many boxers who kept on taking that test. And whether they win or lost, they took it. Inoue took it. Benavidez has been trying to take it every step of the way. Canelo used to take it. Now, Tank, we thought you were going there when it came to you and Frank Martin. Now, we see that was all just a lie. And we get it. Everybody was hurt. Lomachenko out, Shakur out. Doesn't change anything that you still could have made a fight happen at 140. Fight Venezuela at 140. Go at a weight class that you have shown you can compete at and win before, like you did against Mario Barrios. And even then, Barrios to a degree was weight drained as well. Rehydration clause and all, but even still, you did it. Where is that same level of pushing yourself now? Because it's stupid that we're continually having these conversations and nothing's getting done because you yourself are doing nothing. It's horrid. Horrible. And it makes us not want to care. Yeah, sure, we want to see the performances, but I don't want to care about Tank. I don't want, in the grander scheme of things, I don't want to care about Tank now because of what Tank isn't doing. And if we keep seeing Tank not do this, yes, he'll still be popular. Yes, he'll still have a bunch of money, a bunch of accolades, not a bunch of accolades. He'll have a bunch of highlight KOs. He'll look on paper phenomenal. But until he consistently tests himself at this stage of his prime against other people in their prime who are also legitimate threats, and when one match can't happen, you go make the next best one on a consistent basis, you'll never be in the same conversation as other greats, both now and in the future. All time. It'll never happen. As much as we'll never disrespect the talent, but we will disrespect the move because there is no respect to the moves that you're doing at this stage in your career. None. There's none. Every time you give us hope, you constantly fall flat on your face when it comes to actively challenging yourself against quality people, quality talent, quality opposition to make your legacy something that we can respect and compare to other greats. Because at what point are you actually going to face off against these marquee, legitimate names that we have been waiting on you to do? If anything, you fighting Devin Haney, what should have been a breeze now because of the beating that he got from Ryan Garcia. Now, shoot. If there was any time to make that fight happen, now was the time. Teofimo Lopez has been talking a lot. He ain't got to fight if I have my recollection correct. Would have been an apropos opponent. Like I said before, Floyd Schofield, Abdullah Mason, Richardson Hitchens, Valenzuela already covered. Isak Cruz a rematch. Any of them would have been viable. But you chose to go after, essentially, comparative to you, the best of the worst in Lamont Roach. And by best of the worst, I mean because I have stated Tank should not have anything to do with anything below 135. Anybody but coming up from that weight class is the best of the worst when it comes to matchups for Tank. Because you may be taller than him, but you're not bigger than him. You can't punch as hard. You don't have any power to actually give him any trouble. And you can't take the power that he's going to give to you. Most likely. Now, I say that with everybody because Tank is a phenomenal puncher, but that doesn't change the fact that when it comes to Tank versus anybody below 135, it's definitely going to be a low-risk, high-reward situation. And it makes you look decrepit, horrible, outright abysmal in the grand scheme of boxing. Because this is a linear story, a constantly evolving tale of the sport of boxing. And Tank being one of the biggest characters in this story of this sport that we love. You look like a character that people hate now. More and more, we're looking at you and saying, where in the world is the test to prove that you are indeed a main character in this story? Or just you're a character that got aura, but in actuality, you weren't really all that because you never achieved anything. Wasted potential. That's what we're going to say about Tank Davis if this keeps happening. Wasted potential, wasted energy, wasted time. A waste of time that we kept on waiting and waiting and waiting to get over that hump. We thought it was going to come after Gimbo. We thought it was going to come after Leo Santa Cruz. We thought it was going to come after Pedraza. We thought it was going to come after Ryan Garcia. We thought it was going to come after Frank Martin. And yet still, never fails to fail when it comes to taking that next step. I don't care how much talent he's got. I don't care how much excitement he can bring. I don't care how much of a knockout artist he is. If he doesn't prove himself against the apropos competition, he will never get the respect that he deems that he deserves. And rightfully so, because his legacy has nothing to stand on. There is no ground. There is no footing. There is no foundation on Tank Davis. It is strictly hype and easy fights. And when we think that there's some solid footing there, slowly but surely we'll always sink to the bottom. Because watching Tank is like watching a drag race. When the cars get on the line and they're getting ready to build up, the light is red and they're revving up. They're getting ready to go. Yellow. Oh, they're building up now. You hear the RPMs going. You hear the engine roaring. It's getting ready to happen. And then, right when we're about to actually have the race, got to stop. Can't go. Something went wrong. Oh, this was the wrong car. We got to find a different replacement. And we never get the actual race that we're looking for. We never get the actual competition that we're looking for. We never get the actual test of strength that we've been waiting on between two of the best in the world. Because Tank never takes that test that we've been asking him to take for the longest time. The logical steps up are never logical with Tank because it never happens when it comes to Tank Davis, at least of recent. And because of that, respect is given when respect is earned. And you haven't earned the respect because you haven't achieved what needs to be achieved with moves and dumb fights like this that make you look weak. They do. Sadly, they do. This isn't a test. This ain't fun. This ain't exciting. This isn't engaging. It's just outright, it's a shame. That's what it is. A cold, hard shame. And with that being said, this has been another episode of The Watch Report with me, Jean-Luc Welch. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the show on this live stream. And again, remember, we still are on every podcasting platform. Rate us 5 stars on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it. We are absolutely there. Go on and like the video here right now to help it get more when it replays again for the rest of the YouTube algorithm. Absolutely. We're trying to make this show the hottest show in all the globe. And I can't do it without your help and your support. But again, enjoy your weekend. Have some fun. Don't forget, we got Janibek Ali Mahanala fighting the Elite today, if not tomorrow. And it's going to be a great super middleweight fight to watch this man be one of the most dominant and more dangerous fighters in the world, as well as much more. As sports evolve, we will continue to cover them. I've been Jean-Luc Welch. Y'all been wonderful. Peace and love. We are out of here, and I'll see you next week.